Welcome back to the Padilla Family Homestead. Today we are making whipped body butter. So get out that pen and paper so you're ready to take down notes for the recipes. I'll also have them linked down below, and let's get into this project. Okay, so we're going to jump into the project. I have been kind of playing with creating my own whipped body butter recipe, because most of the body butter recipes call for olive oil, and olive oil solidifies differently when it's cooler and so forth, and I wanted to use avocado oil. I've read some things about avocado oil and skin as you're getting older, and I know I'm not old yet, but I am 41, and so I want to be taking care of my skin now. And I've read some cool things about avocado oil and aging skin, and so that's why I want to use that, but it doesn't solidify the same way when it's cold. So I'm kind of changing up my ratios, and we're going to go for it today. So it's 4 simple ingredients for this recipe. Fifth, if you want to add fragrance to it, a scent to it, and I'll tell you kind of when you would do that. But we're going to go ahead and get this started. So I'm going to do a half a cup of cocoa butter. And I have these little discs. I was keeping them up in the kitchen cabinet, and they kind of melted. It was too warm up there. So because these are not going to fill like the whole 1/4 cup completely because of all the gaps, I'm going to go just above it and go ahead and call that a 1/4 of a cup and do 2 of those. It smells so good. Okay, do the same thing. So I've got my half a cup in there. I'm also going to do my half a cup of coconut oil. And it's warmer in the house. Some of this is melted. So I'll do a 1/4 cup at a time of this. So what I found is with this, the grade of stuff that I have, so this is my coconut oil that I use for my cooking, avocado oil that I use for my cooking, the cocoa butter I could absolutely use for my cooking, and then the shea butter, I did not realize that it was actually edible as well. But when I tried it, when I make stuff, I want to be, sure, like when I'm using utensils, if I have to use other, like if I need to use it specifically for soap type items and not for food again. And all 4 of these ingredients are edible, which is nice. It's good for your skin. So body butter is different than lotion. So I don't want you to think we're making a nice smooth liquidy lotion. This is like that thick body butter for those really dry spots on your skin, your feet, the winter chapped hands, all that stuff. So that is what we're aiming for. And after I do dishes all day, or my feet, I walk around barefoot everywhere, so my feet always need something super hydrating. That's what this recipe is going to be good for. Alright, so I have half a cup of cocoa butter in there, half a cup of coconut oil. I'm going to get this half a cup of shea butter going. This smells so good too. Ooh. I'm actually not adding fragrance today because of how much I like the smell of this lotion by itself, this body butter. It's so warm and cozy smelling. I really like it. So there's no reason for me to add any other fragrance to it. It's good for guy or girl. Yeah, it's just great. It reminds me of the smell of like home baked stuff in the kitchen. Okay, so that's a 1/4 cup of the shea butter. I'm going to go in with another 1/4 cup here. This package is just about done. Okay. So we're at the 1/2 cup. My hands already have like all the moisture stuff on them. All right, I'm gonna kind of wipe off my hand a little bit here. So the recipe I did, I tried that I kind of felt like it had too much avocado oil. I did a 1/2 cup, so it was a 1/2 cup of everything when I did that. And I felt like that was too I don't want to say oily. It kind of had that oily residue when you first put it on, but as soon as you like get it on, like your hand wasn't oily anymore. It felt really good on. I just want to change the consistency of it. So we're doing 1/3 cup instead of a 1/2 cup of the avocado oil. Again, because I really want to use the avocado oil and it doesn't solidify the same way. So if that is something that you are wanting, is if you want to try it out and you don't have avocado oil, if you do olive oil, you can do even amounts. So, okay. Now I'm going to get this in the kitchen. We're going to bring it over the double boiler on the stove and get this all heated up, melted up all together. Do not add in any essential oils at this point. We want to get all of this melted down together. Everything has a different melting point. So we'll get that in there, get it melted down, and then I'll kind of bring you in there and show you a little bit. But really, we're not going to sit there and watch the pot boil and everything melt down. So I'll show you what it looks like when we put it on, midway through when I'm stirring it, and then at the end. All right, just as a reminder, this is a working kitchen, so I do have stuff going on in here, but this is kind of what it looks like. I'm going in, I'm putting it on the double boiler. That might be a little bit of too much water in there. I'm going to turn on the heat. This burner is a regular high octane burner, so this one I'm putting on just above low. I have a burner to the right over here that puts out less heat, and that I would put it on medium over that. So it depends on the burner. And I'm really just going to let this start melting down. I will stir it in a little bit, but right now there's really no need to stir it. But I'll bring you back here in a few minutes. Okay, so this has started to melt down already at this point. The coconut oil is the first one to melt down, and then the cocoa butter is next, and then the shea butter is the last one. It's really hard to do with one hand on camera while I'm holding the camera in the other hand. But I'm cutting up this shea butter. That way there's more surface that is exposed to the heat and it will melt down faster. So as this is melting down, I do want to point out that you should be keeping an eye on it and continually checking it, making sure you don't want it boiling. You just want it heated to a point where everything is melted. That is it. Also, kind of why we use these ingredients. Why even make our own whipped body butter? My reasoning for that is because our skin is actually our biggest organ in our body. And having that be the biggest organ, it is there to protect us from all these chemicals on the outside and all kinds of other things, but we continually lather it with chemicals. So I suggest you look at your body lotions that you are using in your whipped body butter and see what the ingredients are and see if you're still comfortable putting it on your skin, and try doing something like this. Okay, so it's ready here. Everything's melted together, and I'm going to pour it into this glass bowl. If you have a bunch of condensation on the bottom, then you want to make sure to wipe it off before you pour it into the bowl. And in this instance, I decided to put this bowl into the freezer to try to speed the process, and you'll hear me talk about this later, but don't put it in the freezer. You're going to see right here coming up where I take it out of the freezer. Why? My suggestion is to put it into the refrigerator because that is going to give you the better consistency. So the middle where I'm pushing down on the mixture, you can tell that it's still soft and pliable. But when you get to the edge, it is frozen. And I'm having to use my warm hands from being outside on the outside of the glass bowl to warm it up enough to even get it off. Plus I'm using a metal utensil to get it off. So I highly suggest that you put it in the refrigerator instead. This does also create I get some little frozen chunks that don't come out, that don't whip up right, and it made whipping it harder. I am showing you though because this is something that could happen. So if this was you when this happened at this point, in the future, I would just say leave it on the counter for a minute, let it come back down to some temperature, keep your hands around it warm, get that outer edge melted down just a little bit more again, and then without the middle getting too soggy, and getting it out that way. Once we get it all out of the bowl and into the mixer, I throw in my stainless steel whisk, and I am going to mix this up. And you'll see me struggle throughout here because it's all frozen. It's trying to all stick into the middle of the whisk. I did not have this problem on my previous batch because I had done the refrigerator. So again, just have it be a little softer. And then you're going to whisk it. I find that whisking it at setting 4 on my KitchenAid works well for me. And just whisk that up until you see it turned kind of into that whipped cream consistency. I do suggest wiping down the edges of it and the bowl and really pushing stuff back down, making sure the bottom is in there. You'll see I switch utensils because I want something a little firmer to really scratch down those edges of the bowl and get it all mixed up. So once it's completely whipped, then we move on to the next step. Okay, once you have your mixture done, you're going to remove that whisk, and I move it over to a table to make it easier, and I just take a spatula and I am putting it into these little mason jars. They make it easy to use, and they can make super cute gifts this way too. Put a little bit of cute fabric on top and a tie, and go ahead and put a label on it, and it really makes a cute gifting vessel. But you're just going to put it in here. This makes about 2.5 cups of mixture, and it is very easy to use in these jars. I think it's super cute. You're going to notice that I'm getting a little bit of yellow in these jars, like the top of this, and that's because those are pieces that were not whipped, and so I was trying to remove them out. Cleanup for this is actually a breeze. I just run hot water on this, and I keep running hot water just like I would be putting bacon grease down I try not to put bacon grease down the drain, but if you have any grease going down the drain, it's kind of the same thing. You're going to run hot water and make sure it gets all the way through your system, and not run cold water right afterwards. Just let it get all the way through your system if when you're going to wash it. Okay, so that was easy enough. I will say I'm going to show you the difference between two different batches of this, because there's one thing I would do different on this. I like the consistency of this recipe a lot. It melts down kind of like butter. I usually don't put this all over my skin, but I don't put it all over my arms normally, but for trying it out and having a lot on my hand, I'm doing that. So to show you my hands, then to pull out my feet and try to do it on my feet. So the only thing that I would do different, and I think I said this in the voiceover, but this one has some chunks that didn't blend in. The one from yesterday did not. Now there were two different reasons. There's two different things I did different for this. One, I used more avocado oil. That was not the thing that made this smoother. The thing that made this smoother is I didn't put it in the freezer. I put it in the refrigerator. And so the outer edges didn't get as rock hard on the bowl in the freezer as it did, on the bowl in the refrigerator as it did on the one in the freezer. That one in the freezer was really hard to get everything out. I'm outside doing stuff, so my hands were warm, so I was trying to like hold the edge of it and melt it off. I held the edge of the mixing bowl a little bit, but it still didn't do it fully. So there are some chunks in this, which is fine. I'm not giving this as a gift. This is for our family. But with that being said, the consistency, the firmness, everything on this one, I love. I just don't like the fact that I had pieces that were still more frozen. Now they melt down super fast when you put them on your warm skin. So it's not anything that's going to be an issue. It just didn't, it didn't all whip up. It's kind of speckled. So that's the only thing that I would do differently with this. And instead of trying to make another batch, I'm just going to be really honest on kind of, if you have this happen, that's why. So you could do it like I did yesterday, and I'll kind of show you. Let me get another jar from yesterday. So the one from yesterday, this is kind of more like mayonnaise. It's not as set. This is, I like this one better. It's not as, I feel like it's not as oily. Now if this gets too warm and it gets too runny, then what I would do is pop it in the fridge. So I popped this one in the fridge yesterday versus this one, and this one's like way smoother. This one set up more because I popped it in the fridge for like 5 minutes. So again, either recipe's fine, but personally, I really like this one. I just wouldn't put it in the freezer. I would just put it in the fridge, and then it's gonna whip up just fine. So that's my suggestion there. I hope you try this. I hope you like it. And that you are taking care of your skin and not putting a bunch of chemicals on it. This is, I did look, our shea butter says external use only. It doesn't say that you can take it internally. There are some shea butters though that are edible. So depending on what you buy is how edible all your ingredients are. So that's why I have no problem using all my kitchen stuff with this stuff, because it's all good. So I hope you love it. I hope you subscribe. Stay tuned for more fun recipes and things to do in the kitchen for your skincare. We'll talk to you soon.